It's not dawn yet. Outside the window is a deep, inky blue. Winter in Moscow. Dawn is always late. Your room is small. So small that you stretch out your arms. You can almost touch the walls on either side. There's a familiar smell in the air, dust. Redemption. And the smell of that wool blanket you wore last night. The walls are thin. So thin you can hear the sound in the other room, Comrade Ivanov. The rhythmic snoring. Like an old tractor struggling up a hill. This is a commune apartment. Or, to use a more affectionate word, subject, Nalka. A pre-revolutionary aristocratic apartment divided into countless small single rooms. Stuffed into a dozen unrelated households. You do it quietly. Every move has been rehearsed thousands of times. To ensure the wooden bed, not a single complaint. Today's first challenge is not work. It was the kitchen. You have to boil the water before everyone wakes up. Make the tea and take a slice of black bread. It's not just about filling your stomach. It is a silence about dignity and efficiency. Where you gently unscrew the door handle. Step into the long, dusky corridor. The corridor is like a sleeping python. Closed doors line the sides. The air is filled with more complex smells. The aftertaste of last night's cabbage soup, wet felt boots. There is also a faint smell of inferior tobacco. You tiptoe. Moving on stage like a ballerina. It's just that your stage doesn't have a spotlight. There is only one hanging in the center of the ceiling, 15-watt light bulbs filled with dust. Emitting a sickly yellow light. The kitchen door was ajar. You push the door in. This is the heart of the apartment. It is also the site of all contradictions. In a small space, 4 or 5 gas stoves are squeezed. Each cooktop, it's scribbled in chalk on top. Families that declare their belonging. There was a yellow duty sheet on the wall. With a crooked self. It specifies who cleans the common areas. You glanced at it. Fortunately, it's not you today. You go to the corner where you belong. Get out your jug and teacup. Just then, you feel a gaze behind you. You don't have to look back to know. It's Anna from room 3. He always gets up so early. Like a ghost in the kitchen. Supervise everyone. You feel his gaze lurking on your back. Check if you are taking up space that does not belong to you. Is even the slightest bit of gas wasted? You didn't look back. Just focus on the hand movement. Put the kettle on the stove. Strike a match. The blue flames jumped all over. It's especially loud in a silent kitchen. Subject Narka. This form of living broke the privacy of the old family. Live here. You've learned to read words. Learn to negotiate in silence. I learned to protect my little piece. Poor private territory. You've even heard neighbors arguing. We'll use that classic. The most lethal words. Aren't you ashamed? This sentence is like an invisible ruler. Always measure everyone's progress, behavior in collective life. Is it appropriate? The water boils and it gurgles. You make the tea quickly. Put a small piece of brown bread in your pocket. Then as fast as possible. Left this place of right and wrong. The moment you close the kitchen door, you often lose your breath. In the corridor, Comrade Ivanov's body was still as strong as ever. You go back to your little room. Leaning against the cold window. Sipping hot tea. Looking out the window at the sky from the dark blue. Slowly turning gray. Every morning, this silent game in the communal kitchen. It's not just about survival. It's your entry into the bigger one. A necessary exercise for a more complex world. There are also scarce resources there. There are also unwritten rules. There are eyes everywhere. You must exercise the same caution, the same agility, the same silence. To survive every day. Because of your job. It is the most proud art in this country. It is also the stage that requires the most caution. You walk down the rundown stairs of an apartment building. Stepping into the early morning streets of Moscow. The air is cold and fresh. Inhaled into the lungs with a cold sweetness. The trolleybus emits a dull warmth. God drags a long wire. Like a meek beast, sliding down the streets of thin ice. You wrap your coat tightly. With other expressionless office workers. The flow of people into the city center. Your destination, the pride of the city, is the Bolshoi Theater. When his iconic classicist porch. And on the roof, the bronze statue of Apollo driving a chariot. When it comes into view, you always have a feeling that it's not real. For most people, this is the temple of art. It's a mecca to see Swan Lake and the Nutcracker. But for you, he is your factory. You didn't go there with the red carpet. Main entrance for the audience. They skillfully bypass the side of the building, turning into an inconspicuous alley. A small heavy iron door 70% dark green. It's your entrance, the stage crew tunnel. You open the door. A completely different void. And there was air. It's a mixture of dust, rosin sweat, the unique smell of oil paint and aged wood. It is the exclusive breath of the backstage world. You suddenly enter from the gray reality city. A vertical one. A hierarchical city within a city. The corridor is narrow and deep. Outdated performance posters hang on the walls. Dim light. You and the stage workers who carry not only one by one, a musician hurrying with a sheet music. And wearing practice clothes, the haughty young dancer passed by. Everybody knows where they are. Everybody's in this giant art machine. Plays a precise role. You go down the stairs. And think about going down to the belly of the theater. Finally, you're in front of a door with a shoe shop sign. Stop. This is your territory. You push the door in. You are greeted by a familiar, rhythmic noise. Hammer strikes wood and leather. The sewing machine beeps when it runs. And the gentle spirit of the artisans whispering. The workshop is not big. Light is projected from the tall skylights. On leather dust floating in the air, forming clear beams of light. The room is filled with leather, watering and hot taste. Dusty satin on the wall. Leather and canvas. The workbench is busy. Point shoes filled with tools and work in progress. The hierarchical order of the workshop is clear at a glance. Sitting in the corner is the old master of the workshop. He hardly speaks. Just occasionally raise your head, sweep it around with Rueli's eyes. An experienced craftsman like you occupies the best lit workbench. And those young apprentices. I'm fighting from the side. Thanks for cutting the fabric, tooling chores. It has a strange atmosphere. There is pride in the work of the craftsman, mixed with the peculiar characteristics of state-owned factory employees. A slightly tired sense of destiny. You go to your desk. Take off your coat. Put on an apron. Your colleague nods to you. It's a hello. You know your job is here. Is considered essential. After all, Comrade Lenin once said. For the revolution, film and ballet are two of the most important art forms. However, in this case it seems, in a backstage world insulated from politics, some are older. More mysterious traditions still creep in. You notice that a young dancer, before entering the rehearsal hall, it will quickly draw a cross on its chest. Although this goes against the state's atheist propaganda, chi is in your workshop. The old master also. No one is ever allowed to whistle indoors. He said it would bring bad luck. This is from Tsarist times, an ancient surprise passed down from the theater. You also formed your own little habits. Before starting work every day, you're going to tap the bench 3 times with your knuckles. This is not superstition, it's a ritual. It allows you to use the tools and materials in your hands. How to establish a connection. The day's work has officially begun. You walk into the room, the row of upright wooden frames in the lens. The shelves are densely packed with hundreds of wooden oblique cavities. They are the starting point and foundation of point co-production. Each oblique display is like a small sculpture. Smooth wood surface due to year-round use. And it shows a warm luster. These slants are not cookie-cutter industrial products. Each according to the specific ballerina's horn. The shape is hand-polished by a special master. Their shape. Size, the curvature of the arch of the foot. There are subtle differences in the width of the toes. The heel of the oblique point. Mark the owner's name with ink or branding. or, more commonly, a code name, a symbol. This is a highly personalized customization. You take out a mark from SL's write-off. This is a rising star in the theater. You of the lead dancer Sweetliner Lugina. He knows every detail about these feet. His right foot is slightly wider than his left. Powerful big toe. Extremely high arches. Take this oblique point. You can almost feel the power of those feet. Temperature is more than just a tool. It's between you and Wuxia. The physical embodiment of the incorporeal contract. He represents his trust in you. And how you feel about his anatomy. Almost medically accurate understanding. In a world that emphasizes collectivity. This little, unique wooden block. It's one of the few pure things in your work. Personalized connection points. Next you go to the material cabinet. Take out a roll of satin. You unfold it carefully. The pink section is in the light coming in from the skylight. With a soft sheen. You twisted it with your finger. Feel its thickness and texture. Today's shipment is not bad. Tight enough and strong enough. You lay the satin flat on the workbench. With a heavy iron ruler. And a sharp leather knife. Precisely measure the fabric required for the upper. Your every move is precise and economical. Because you know how precious these materials are. The structure of the point shoe is not complicated. The outer layer is fiber optic satin. The lining is sturdy canvas. The sole is hard leather. Yet it is these simple materials. Through your hands. Will be combined to be able to support a 50%
Total
discount. And make him look as light as a feather. It's an ancient craft. The production process of the Point Association. Since its birth in the 19th century, the core remains almost unchanged. No matter how the outside world goes through industrialization, electrification, and even the age of atomic energy. In your little workshop, the world seems to be frozen. Everything you do, it will connect you with the work of 100 years ago. Craftsmen are closely linked. Your apprentice, a young man named Pavel. Curious to watch you work. He once asked you a naive question. The master heard that there is wood in the toe. Is that right? You laughed. This is one of the most common misconceptions. You tell him. The hardness of the shoes between groups does not come from wood or metal. It comes from a more simple, more ingenious craftsmanship. Layers of fabric and glue. Like the ancient paper-plastic process, forming a strong shell after drying. This is one of the core secrets of your craft. It's the inside story that the layman can't get a peek at. The satin and canvas lining you will cut. Put it aside. He turned and walked towards the most mysterious corner of the workshop. Watering table. And this is a half-human high copper pot. Under the bottom of the pot is a faint charcoal fire. Maintains the temperature of the liquid in the pot. A stream of mixed valleys. Strange tales of objects and chemicals. It's coming out of the pan. Pervades the entire workshop. This is the most crucial part of the entire shoemaking process. It is also the most confidential part. Blend glue. This pan is a viscous translucent amber liquid. It is the source of the strength of the foot. He is not from Guiying. Standardized products shipped from chemical plants. There are no labels or ingredient descriptions on it. His recipe. It's an oral legacy of this workshop from generation to generation. It was passed down from the old master to the eldest apprentice. In the secret passed on to you by the eldest apprentice, you pick up a long-handled wooden spoon. Stir slowly in the pot. You know its basic ingredients. Flour water is boiled into a dextrin or starch glue. But what sets it apart are those secret ingredients. Maybe some kind of resin. It could also be ground animal bone glue. Even some from special channels. Chemical additives said to enhance toughness. The specific proportion and boiling heat. Total experience and feel. The old master once told you to observe the state of watering as it drips from the wooden spoon. He has to hang the spoon, slowly flowing like honey. But not too sticky. You shake a spoonful. Observe carefully. The consistency today is just right. This kind of memory is based on senses and experience. It gives you a real sense of satisfaction. It cannot be quantified. Unable to be assisted by the police production manual. It's not measurable by bureaucratic metrics. You know very well. The Soviet intergroup shoes you made. It is renowned internationally for its amazing hardness. When Western dancers first wore it, often complain that it is as uncontrollable as a stone. But it is this India. Only then did the Bolshoi Theatre support the iconic ballet company. A powerful and explosive dance style. Your glue formula. It is to create this unique. Exists with special Soviet hardness. So you're not just making shoes. It is shaping a dance aesthetic. You dip a brush in warm glue. Apply evenly over the already stacked on several layers of canvas and burlap. These fabrics will form the inside of the toe box. The smell of watering makes you feel at ease. Here's your secret. Also your strength. Now. The most challenging skill in the entire shoemaking process. The most physically demanding step. Discount for toe caps. The inner material that you will be covered with glue and satin fabric. Repackage on Svetlana's wooden shoes. Everything is still wet. Malleable. Your job is to do it before the glue dries. Remove the excess fabric from the front end of the toe. Use your fingers to form neat, tight folds. And eventually form a platform that can stand stably. Your fingers are already prepared for this. For many years, work leaves your fingertips covered with thick calluses. The knuckles also become thicker and stronger. You can hardly feel the smoothness of the silk. I can't feel the stickiness of the glue. Your finger. It has become the exclusive tool of the craft. Sensitive and strong. You hold the oblique point tightly with your left hand. The thumb and index finger of the right hand begin to work. You tighten the edge of the satin towards the center. Then press hard with the side of your thumb. A fold is formed. You repeat the action. Fast and rhythmic. Tension and press. Tighten and press again. The fabric folds obediently under your fingers. Like a blooming pink chrysanthemum. The width and depth of each fold must be uniform. In this way, the final platform will be flat. It's a very powerful process. You have to use all your teeth to compact the heavy fabric soaked in glue. Your forearm muscles are tense. Beads of sweat oozed from his forehead. It was quiet in the workshop. I can only hear the threads of the fabric being pulled. God and your own slightly heavy breathing God. You glance at the work of your colleague next to you. Even with the same process, everyone's fold style is also slightly different. The old master's folds are short and dense, as impeccable as made by a machine. And your style is a little longer folds. The lines are more stretched. It is said that experienced ballet dancers. You don't even have to look at the artisan markings on the shoes. Just by the wrinkled feel of the sole, you can tell the difference between these shoes. Which master did it come from? It's a silent signature. Some famous dancers, like the Royal Ballet, Ryan Benjamin, would be particularly like his shoemaker, requested to make long wrinkled shoes. You look down at your hands, holding hard to wash glue under the nails. Palmar and knuckles, covered with old and new scratches and post-dissolution. You suddenly remembered that in a Western book, a sentence I read in a magazine. After visiting a point shoe factory. Right. The hands of a shoemaker are like the feet of a dancer. Strong and scarred. And you think that could be more accurate? You and the dancers, although living in two completely different worlds, one was a dusty workshop. One is a glowing stage. But you speak a common language. Connect together. That's physical wear and tear and pain. This physical resonance. Let you treat those dancers. It creates a special kind of empathy and understanding. When you press hard on the fold. When you feel the pain coming from your fingertips. You can almost feel Svetlana. When using pointy weapons. The intense pressure on his toes. At this moment. You feel something more primal. A more pure connection. The batter's process is a physical conversation. The strain on your fingertips and wrists echoes the strain on the dancer's ankle and arch. You're all using your bodies. Pursue an ultimate formal beauty. You're not just making an object. You are working with your own body. Create a container for another person's art. This is a profound empathy beyond words. Finally, the last fold is complete. You must breathe. Drop the skew. A perfectly flat platform has been formed. Your fingers are aching. But your heart is filled with the joy of creation. The clock strikes 12 noon. The sound of hammering and sewing machines in the workshop stop abruptly. It's lunch break. Take off your apron. With a few colleagues. Walk towards the theater's internal cafeteria. The cafeteria is a room with a high ceiling. It's sort of like a factory floor. There is a rich borscht in the air. The taste of boiled buckwheat and cheap fried fish. The long wooden dining table was already full of people. Here is the whole theater society. A microcosm of an ecosystem. You can see the social map here at a glance. Dancers occupy the nearest window. The tables with the best lighting. They usually just eat some salad. Or have a cup of yogurt. Eating with grace and restraint. Stand-in conversation. Musicians gather in a different area. They're louder. Discussing last night's command, or some puzzle in the score. Stage technician. Such as the lighting engineer and the set palace. He sat in the middle of the cafeteria. On their plates, always full of potatoes and patties. And you craftsmen. Shoemaker clothier. Wigs have their own corner. You are indispensable in this art palace. A group that is often overlooked. The content of your conversation, it usually revolves around work. Complaining about another delay in supplies. Share some tips for saving materials. Or gossip about some dancer. What weird shoe customization request did you put forward? You're carrying your lunch. A bowl of borscht. A spoonful of buckwheat rice and a small piece of brown bread. Take a seat in your old place. You eat slowly. While listening to the conversation around, small talk in the cafeteria seems trivial. In fact, it is an efficient, amazing information exchange network. Official channels will only tell you production indicators and time for thought study sessions. But here you can hear really useful information. For example, you'll hear the old tailor in the garment department complain. The new batch of silk is of poor quality. It's not even. Remind you, if you need to use the same batch of fabric for upper decoration, be extra careful. You'll also hear a stage manager bragging. How does he get through relationships? Got a batch in advance. Scarce Dutch imported light bulbs. This information, it's the oil that runs this huge institution. It is a folk patch to the failure of the planned economy. Suddenly, the noise in the cafeteria is slightly reduced. You follow everyone's gaze. And the theater books came in. He's a stern middle-aged man. In a well-ironed linen suit. He wasn't sitting with anyone. He sat alone at a corner table. Slowly drinking a cup of tea. The eyes scan the entire cafeteria like radar. His presence was like a silent reminder. Art can never be just art here. The old shoemaker next to you takes a sip of hot tea. Sound down. I began to miss the Dienshan opera troupe decades ago. He said how dynamic the plays were back then. The actors were dressed in simple blue overalls, playing in factories and clubs. The content is all the news and facts of the day. They call it a living newspaper. That's a real folk. Art with revolutionary passion. Not like now. Everything has become so grand. Classical. And the stereotype of his words makes you think. Soviet culture. Is it a top-down imposition by the state? Unified artificial culture. Or is it always with guerrillas from the people? Culture is a dynamic process of complex interaction. The official propaganda. Heroic epics are of course the mainstream of culture. But now these whispers in the cafeteria. Black humor and reminiscence about the past. Doesn't that also constitute the other side of this cultural problem? The secretary finished his tea. He stood up and left the cafeteria. The air seems to be relaxed again. But you know, the invisible pressure left by those eyes. It doesn't completely disappear. Lunch break is over. You put the tray back in the window. Walk back to your underground workshop. The gossip in the cafeteria. You have been provided with what you need for afternoon work, important information, in this vast system. This might be you low-level craftsmen. The only way to regain the initiative. Afternoon work. You need to implant his soul into the shoe. Comedian diagonal star is a hard support bar running through the sole. It goes from the heel to the sole of the foot. She's a ballerina. The key to being able to stand stably on toes. Without him, point shoes are a pair of soft cloth shoes. Material of shoe type, thickness and hardness, directly determines the support of a pair of shoes. Flexibility and longevity. You walk up to a pile of pre-cut material. These are the ingredients for making shoe cores. Materials vary. Some are made by pressing multiple layers of cardboard. Some of it was flexible, thin leather. There are still. It's burlap soaked in glue and hardened. Which one to choose? It all depends on the individual needs of the dancer and the play he's going to perform. You pick up Svetlana's order card. It clearly states that there are 3 pairs of shoes in this order. 1 pair is used for rehearsal and surreal. Medium soft shoes are required. The other 2 pairs were used for the premiere of Don Guhard. Jiang shoes must be used. This request is very professional. You know the heroine of Giselle's second order is a ghost. Her dance moves require extreme lightness and elegance. The movements under your feet should be delicate and expressive. The soft oblique star can make his arch more graceful lines. It's easier to do smooth scrolling. And Kittery, the heroine of Don Guhard. She is a vibrant Spanish girl. Her dance involves lots of jumps and quick spins. Hardened comedian provides her with greater support and stability. Let her finish, more confident with those difficult skills. It can also prolong the service life of the shoes you bought for Giselle. A piece of specially treated leather was selected, bloody. You trim it into the right shape with a knife and smooth the edges. And for Don Guhard, it's 3 layers of glued cardboard, solid as a sheet of wood. Before many dancers use their new shoes, I will also modify the shoe core by myself. They use a knife, they use pliers. Cut off a short section of the oblique center near the heel. Only the part that supports the arch and sole of the foot remains. This practice is known as 3 of 4. The goal is to gain greater flexibility. You know, Pollyanna of the Boston Ballet, Libello, and Pascal of the Chin Ballet in New York. That's what Van Kipnis does. This is a second creation between the dancer and the shoe. Do the work in your hands. Let you feel deeply. Soviet ballet and Western ballet. A fundamental difference in aesthetics. And this tea. It's reflected in this little piece of comedian. The Vaganova method that you followed. It's Agrippina Vaganova in the 1930s. Systematic ballet training system. He emphasized the strength of the body, stability and movement accuracy. The hard one you make. Intergroup shoes with strong support. It is in order to cooperate with this powerful and athletic dance. Designed in style. He encouraged the dancers to be full of excitement. A powerful gesture. Jump on toes. And Western ballet. Especially the French school. It emphasizes the fluency and elegance of dance steps. Their shoes are usually softer. The shoe core is also more elastic. This allows the dancer to roll on their toes more calmly. Little point shoes. It turned out to be the carrier of 2 different dance philosophies. The way shoes are made directly shapes the artistic presentation on the stage. You carefully put the stepped shoe core into the shoe gun. With glue and a few small nails. Fix it to the insole. The process is like creating a beautiful shell. Implant a tough spine. You know that. The choice of each oblique star. It's a right between art and durability. Balance. Harder oblique stars mean longer service life. This is in an economic environment where materials are scarce. The durability requirements of composite systems, and a softer core. It can lead to a more delicate artistic expression, but the shoes will wear out very quickly. This is in line with the artist's pursuit of beauty. Your job. It is in the dancer's desire for artistic freedom, and the harsh economic realities. There was a silent negotiation going on. Every piece of blood you cut. It's all a fleeting beauty. And practical durability. A delicate compromise. The afternoon sun shines through the tall skylights. Cast a few quiet lights in the workshop. Hammer in the air. And sandpaper grinding into a monotonous song. Hypnotic music. Suddenly the workshop door was pushed open. A figure walked in. The rhythm and position of the whole workshop are consistent. It's Svetlana Lugina, the leading actress of the theater. That's what you're making for. The dancer in the shoes. He wasn't wearing a workout suit, it was a simple wool dress. But the kind of thing he has that belongs on the stage. Unquestionable aura. Instantly fills this simple space. All the apprentices stopped what they were doing. Look at him in awe. Even the old master raised his head from his corner. In the Soviets, top artists are national treasures. A privileged and privileged class. But they are also under tremendous pressure. Every single one of their performances, nothing is allowed. This pressure will eventually act like an electric current. To those of you who work behind the scenes. Svetlana ignored the others. Walk straight to your workbench. There was a hint of exhaustion and anxiety on his face. Master. And he starts talking. Sound is better than reading on stage. Words are much softer. I need an urgent adjustment. Premiere next week. But the toe box of these shoes still feel a little wrong. He took a pair from his carry-on bag. Almost brand new set of shoe clippers. Exactly what you did for him last week. He hands him to you. You see here. He pointed to the flank of the toe box. And I was doing these continuous whiplash turns. I always feel that the support on this side is not enough. The foot slides outward. Even just a millimeter of slide will affect my center of gravity. You take the shoes. Press carefully with your fingers where he says. Your fingertips are like a doctor's probe. Feel the fabric and glue. Hardened internal structure. You immediately understand what he means. This time the glue layer may be a little thinner. Or during the drying process. There is a slight deviation in the shape. For ordinary dancers, this may not be a problem at all. But for a chief like Sweetliner, this millimeter difference. It's the dividing line between perfection and failure. This direct, face-to-face communication is actually not common. Usually the communication between you is through the order, card and broker carried out. But when the problem becomes urgent and dangerous, this is the most primitive form of communication. It becomes irreplaceable. He trusts you. He knows you understand his feet. Understand his dance. He doesn't have to explain complicated ballet jargon to you. He only needs to describe a feeling. It's a physical feedback. And you need to take that subjective feeling. Translate into objective, operable process parameters. I see. You say to him. I'll be inside the sides of these new shoes. Add an extra rag. And use stronger glue. This will increase the hardness. It should solve the sliding problem. Does the height of the upper need to be adjusted? No, the upper height is just right. He replied that the platform is also very good. It's stable. It's flanking. Your conversation is full of jargon. Upper shoebox. Shoe hardness. Platform shape. This is a style exclusive to dancers and shoes. Code between craftsmen. You recall the specific requirements of other dancers. For example, Melissa Thomas of the American Ballet Theater. Because of blastocystitis, you need to customize it for him. Shoes with larger circumference in the toe area. To relieve pain. Behind every request, it's all the secrets of the dancer's body and their demand for art. He looks at you. Eyes full of dependence. Please, I'm counting on them. At this moment, you feel a heavy responsibility. You are more than just a craftsman. You are an invisible collaborator. Your job directly determines his presence on stage. How high can it reach? An inappropriate concord might throw him off balance in the spin. A hard comedian. It may prevent him from showing gradual delicacy. You are in a way. He's an unknown choreographer. With the tools at hand. Shaping the possibility of boredom. You also become the guardian of his secrets. You see this muse on stage. Perfect handwritten dancer. Behind the unknown vulnerability and anxiety, you know the pain in his feet. Know what he sacrificed for a move. Struggle. These are the sides he would never show to the public. Don't worry, you tell him. New shoes will be ready tomorrow morning. And he kind of nodded. A relieved smile on his face. He took another look at the shoes you were making. suddenly right. Can you add a small piece of cushion to the heel? Just then. My little superstition, you laughed. You know that dancer from the Boston Ballet? We'll kiss each new pair of shoes before going on stage. Every dancer has their own little ritual. To pray for good luck. No problem, you promised. Svetlana left. The workshop resumed its usual rhythm. But something in the air is different. This brief meeting. Like a stone thrown into a calm lake. The significance of your work. It becomes clearer and heavier. You pick up the tool. Start for the lead dancer. To create the perfect weapon for him to hold the stage. Svetlana's urgent order. Disrupted your original work plan. You need the highest quality materials to satisfy his cocoa request. However, when you go to the material library, ready to pick up the made sole, the kind of high-density leather required. Warehouse management, a chubby. The man who is always pleasant to the eye shows his hands to you. No, he said. There was no apology in his tone. This month's quota has been exhausted. Next batch. God knows when it will arrive. The plan says next week. But you also know. The word plan. It's like the weather forecast. Your heart sinks. This isn't the first time this has happened. This is the reality you will face every day. A huge, rigid central planning system. Trying to plan and control every detail of the country's economy. From steel production to leather supply for theaters. The results are often catastrophic. Some supplies will pile up due to misplanning. Like the famous shoe disaster in the 1970s. The country produced 800 million double inferior quality ugly shoes. No one wants to wear it at all. It can only be piled up in the warehouse and rotted. And some other key dance words. For example, the high-quality leather you urgently need now. But I will be a day laborer without warning. You go back to the workshop, told the master the situation. He just nodded calmly after listening. Seems to have expected. He was silent for a moment, then call you to a secluded corner of the workshop. Stay away from the ears of young apprentices. He took a soft sheet from his pocket, a crumpled note. Put it in your hand. This address. He said to the voice. Find someone named Misha. Just say I asked you to come. He has a way. You unfold the note. The above is an address you are not familiar with. It's an industrial estate on the other side of town. You immediately understand what the old master means. He wants you to go left. This is Liu. It means going to the black market. In the Soviets, almost everyone has more or less participation in the second economy. When the official economic system, when you can't meet people's needs. A parallel. The underground economic network came into being. From reselling a pair of American jeans, go private and ask a plumber to fix the leaking pipe. And now, for a national theater, purchase urgently needed means of production. This shadow economy is everywhere. You feel a hesitation. It's illegal after all. If you get caught, the consequences are unimaginable. But you look at the one on the workbench that belongs to Sweet Rainer's dazzling. Remembering the anxious look in his eyes, you know you have no choice. Hand-eye of a diagonal dancer can't be delayed by a piece of leather. It's not just about art. More of a political mission, so you take off your apron. Put on your coat. Wear the note, into the inner pocket and out of the theater. You follow the address. Take the tram to that unfamiliar area. There are no chess and card buildings in the city center, only rows of gray ones. There's nothing magical about the Haru Annex and low-rise factories. You found that address? It's a humble family. A small shop with a hardware repair sign. You push the door in. Helene. The man with the mustache looked up from behind the counter. Who are you looking for? He asked vigilantly. I'm looking for Misha. You whisper. Master Vasily asked me to come. Hear the name of the master. The man named Misha's expression relaxed a little. He leads you to the back of the store. In the warehouse of sundries, what do you want? He asked for cowhide made in Germany. For soles. At least 2 of 3 pairs of shoes. And you said, Misha whistled. That's good stuff. In a tight fire, he came from a hidden box. Drag out a roll of leather wrapped in tarp. He unfolds. You go over and see. Just the kind you need. compact texture, uniform thickness. Then you from the state, any batch received by the warehouse is better. How to change it? You know that. In this transaction, money is not always the most important thing. The hardest currency. It's the privilege of human relationships and reciprocity. This is a complex and proven social credit system. Misha smiled. Show a mouthful of yellow teeth. I know Master Vasily's craftsmanship. My daughter studies at the Vaganova dance school. I'm going to need my first decent point shoes soon. Please help me make 2 pairs of the best. It's exactly the shape of her feet. This roll of leather is considered an exchange. This deal. Let you understand the way this country works. Have a deeper understanding. In order to complete the production tasks assigned by the state, have to engage illegal transactions prohibited by the state. In order to be a good Soviet worker, you must first become a bad Soviet citizen. And that's the fundamental flaw in this system. He asks you with grand ideals, while using cruel reality, forcing you to deviate from these ideals. Chinjiao, tell Misha. You hold that heavy roll. Illegal leather walks back to the theater. You feel like a double agent. I was filled with anxiety. But there is another, the strange grounding of completing a task. You bring that roll of precious leather you bought on the black market back to the workshop. Master sees you. Just nodded imperceptibly. This matter becomes between you. It's an unspoken secret. Now the material problem is solved. But new pressures follow. The time was delayed for half a day due to the purchase. You've got to get up to speed to catch up with this week's production targets. The specter of a 5-year plan, hanging over every corner of the country. From a steel plant in Siberia to your little shoe workshop. Faded signs on the wall, quality assurance. Complete production tasks. But everyone knows in their heart, when quantity and quality conflict, quantity always comes first. The atmosphere in the workshop became tense. The leisurely conversation has disappeared. Instead, a dense worker with anxiety. The hammering is louder. The speed of the sewing machine also seems to be adjusted to the highest level. You feel that invisible pressure. Your every move, urged by an invisible clock. You must do it within the stipulated time, complete the required amount of writing. This is called piece rate wages and production quotas. To stimulate production, the state also invented the commando system. Those young workers who overcomplete their tasks will be honored and get some material rewards. Maybe 1, tickets in short supply, or prioritize the allocation of housing places. There's a poster like this hanging on the wall. A muscular, smiling young worker holds hammer aloft. Factory smoke in the background. But in the eyes of you old craftsmen, this system is full of irony. You all know an unspoken rule in private. If someone stands out too much, overdone too many tasks, then the manager, soon his production record will be, for the new standard, raise production quotas for everyone. The result is, everyone wants to get the same salary as before, they have to do more. So, no one is going to truly honor that hero. Everyone will tacitly increase their speed, control within a safe range. However, today's situation is different. To make up for lost time, you have to go into assault mode. You gave up your short afternoon break. Even drinking water is like fighting a war. You focus on the task at hand. But you know, at this high speed, some details are inevitably sacrificed. For example, on standardized shoes made for group dancers, you might lose a stitch, or use a faster drying one. But the glue of toughness to burn tea, you can't see that as a layman. Nuance. Even the dancers themselves may not be able to detect it immediately. But you know, shoes made like this, lifespan will be shortened by at least a third. Your heart is struggling. As a craftsman, your pride comes from the pursuit of perfection, comes from the pursuit of excellence in every detail. But as a worker in a state-owned factory, your survival, it depends on whether you can finish, become that cold numerical indicator. Production metrics are like a corrosive. It's slowly eroding your professional integrity. Every compromise made in a hurry. It's like in your honor as a craftsman. Make a small incision. You sigh. Continue the work in hand. You carefully bring that piece, hard German leather, used on Svetlana's shoes. Make sure every stitch is flawless. And for those ordinary orders, you can only guarantee the basic functions. Maximize efficiency. It's a quality disagreement that you're forced to learn outside the official system to protect truly important artworks and take the helpless workaround. The greatest pressure you have ever faced, it doesn't come from work. It comes from what the system imposes on you every day. Moral and artistic compromise. It's a mental drain. More exhausting than any physical effort. After a stressful rush to work, finally came to the whole shoemaking process. The most dramatic and magical moment. What you are holding in your hand, it is a basically formed evil foot. But he looks weird. It looks crude and awkward. All the stitches are exposed. The luster of the satin was turned inside. Plain canvas lining on the outside. Here's why. Traditional point co-production. It uses an ancient tomato method. The shoes are first sewn in reverse on the shoe show. And then the whole thing flips over. Now is the time to witness a miracle. You take your shoes out of your shoes. And then, you grab the heel part of the shoe with one hand. The other hand goes into the oblique mouth, hard but with dexterity. Start to reverse it from the inside out. This process requires skill and strength. Cloth soaked in glue and starting to harden. Very tough. Maybe even stubborn. You put your knee against your shoe. The body leans back slightly. Muscles in the arm tight and you feel the fabric twist in your hands. Resist making a sound. Then with one last hard pull. He complied. Like a butterfly emerging from its cocoon moment. All the roughness is hidden away. What you have in front of you is a smooth line. Smooth-looking point shoes. Pink satin. Revealing an elegant sheen under the light. All the stitches are gone. Hidden inside the shoe. A simple, functional work in progress. At this moment, it is officially transformed into a work of art. You always enjoy the moment. It is filled with the joy of creation. Let all your previous hard work. It all makes sense. The shoes you will turn over. Put it back on that wooden shoe show. Get him back and fixed in the correct shape. Next comes the final shaping process. You pick up a small hammer with a smooth head. You fix the bottom of the shoe skirt to the iron needle. And start rhythmically tapping the toe box. Block. Block. The crisp knocking body echoes in the workshop. This is not random tapping. The position of each droop. The forces and angles have been carefully calculated. Your goal. It is the toe cap and the inner ones because, flip, instead, glues and fabrics that may become uneven. Layer thoroughly. Flattening makes his interior smooth. The exterior lines are more elegant. Then you put your shoes up. Start tapping the platform of the shoes. You have to bang it absolutely flat, so that the dancer can stabilize on it. This sound is like music to you. Certain Western ballet companies, like the New York City Ballet. After the dancer gets her new shoes, the first thing I do, just smash it on the ground with a hammer or a shoe. The purpose is to make the toe cap and soft. And eliminate the noise that can be made when running on stage. Sound from this perspective. What you are doing now is for them. Complete this destructive process ahead of time. It's just that your goal is not to be soft, but to maintain hardness. Achieve the most perfect shape. This flipping action makes a curious association with you. He is like, it's a microcosm of the world you live in. The process of making a pair of shoes is full of sweat, glue, linen, and rough stitches. This is the true structure within him. But after flipping, all of this is cleverly hidden. Show the world a flawless, brilliant satin finish. How similar it is to the whole society you live in. The state goes to great lengths to use propaganda. Celebrations unlike the Bolshoi theater, art like ballet is outdated. Build a powerful, self-confidence idealized external image. But only the people in it. Like you. Only then did I know that under this smooth layer of satin, what shortages are hidden? Contradiction, and the hard work it takes to maintain that image. Work hard you. As a craftsman, are the few who can see outside the inner core at the same time. You sew those rough inner forces with your own hands. Flip it over with your own hands. Bring out that beautiful appearance. You understand better than anyone. Beneath this perfect surface, that real and complex structure. This idea. It gives you a whole new perspective on your work. An almost philosophical understanding. You're not just making shoes. You are participating in a huge, tacit reversal ceremony. You stop tapping. The shoes have been put into final shape. He is calm and perfect in your hands. These point shoes are custom made for Svetlana. It's getting close to completion. You gave him a final examination. Symmetry of toe box, flatness of the platform, the arc of the upper. Everything meets your standards. Before you send it to the quality inspector. And a little consciousness of your own. You take it from a small drawer at the workbench. And he took out a little bronze seal. And a box of black ink. Engraved at the bottom of the seal is a simple symbol. A 5-pointed star. This is not a symbol of the country. The star has rounder edges. Is your personal symbol. You carefully stood in the river of ink. Then open the shoe. Place the seal. Press hard on the leather in the interior of the shoe. You lift the seal. A clear. The black pentagram stayed there forever. Here's your signature. In this emphasis on collectivity, in an environment that does not encourage individualism, public authorship is a rare, see even dangerous behavior. The artist's work ultimately belongs to the state. Your labor. It's just a number on the production index. But this little hidden mark on the inside of the shoe. It's a silent announcement. He's saying that this piece passed through my hands. I am responsible for his quality. This is a tradition across the industry. Almost every experienced shoemaker have their own unique markings. Maybe a moon, a hare, or a simple collection figure. The dancers, especially the lead performers, they may never know. Make shoes for them. What is the name of the craftsman? I don't recognize your faces. But they recognize these markings. They will say I only want shoes made by Master Mao. Or Master Moon's best suits my feet. That's the kind of relationship you have with the dancers. You've probably never talked. But through this little symbol, builds an unbreakable trust. He trusts the memory represented by this symbol. And you pass this symbol. Gives your anonymous labor an identity. The pattern of this symbol. It may also contain only yourself, personal meaning. You choose a 5-pointed star because of your hometown. In the remote Ural Mountains. The night there. The stars always look particularly bright. This mark. It's you in this huge strange city. A little bit of nostalgia reserved for myself. Please keep the seal carefully. The secret ceremony is complete. These shoes will soon leave your dusty workshop. Sent to the light. Shooting in the hands of the chief dancer. He will be on the grandest stage in Moscow. Maybe even with the ballet company on tour. Go to Paris, London, New York. That little 5-pointed star hidden in the insole will carry the full weight of a person. Jumping under the gaze of the world. Spin. It's a secret that only you and the dancers know. One about personal pride and the code of craftsmanship inheritance silently from an anonymous craftsman. Delivered to a dazzling artist. Your work doesn't always come out of nothing. A large part of the time, you're dealing with the past. In the corner of the workshop, there was a huge wicker box. It's full of all kinds of worn out, broken point shoes. They were like a group of wounded soldiers who had retreated from the battlefield. Upper wear. Satin faded. Bent sole. The toe has long been cut out of shape. These are all things you need to fix. You pick up a pair of them. The markings on the insoles are blurred. But you recognize this as something you did months ago. You hold it in your hand. It feels like reading a file. A brand new pair of component shoes is perfect. But there is no story. And a pair of worn shoes. But it's full of stories. On the shoes, every wear and tear. It's all a record of the dancer's body language. You look at the wear marks on the edge of the toe platform. You can determine the dancer's spinning habits. Left or right. You check the oblique bend points. You can tell how strong his arch is. Can he keep his weight completely on the toes? You can even line the depth of Chinese characters. Guess which rehearsal he was in. Extra long effort. The front end of the platform of this pair of shoes, the satin has been completely worn off. The linen layer underneath is exposed, and the edges are fluffy. This shows that his owner likes to weave cloth very much, way to strengthen the toe cap. To increase friction and durability. This is a very popular technique among dancers. They use thick thread and needles. Sew fine stitches on the toe platform. And your job is to use a more professional approach. To complete this reinforcement, you take a needle with an elbow and a special roll of cheesecloth and began to weave the fabric for the platform of these shoes. In the abundant West, the lifespan of a pair of point shoes may be only a few hours. A top ballerina, during a performance, it may wear out 2 or 3 pairs of shoes. The New York City Ballet consumes a year. Thousands of pairs of shoes. It's an incredible expense. But in the Soviet Union, it's completely different. Due to material shortages and economic constraints, the value of each pair of shoes is maximized. Throw away a pair of reparable shoes. It's an unthinkable waste. This repair of objects, reuse and retrofit, they formed the Soviets, a core feature of material culture. When future generations study this era, some people will focus on those magnificent old artificial satellite, nuclear power plants, but others argue that to truly understand the economy of the Soviet Union, it is necessary to observe these daily and makeshift command. These worn shoes in your hands is a prime example of this folk wisdom. You did the last stitch. The platform for shoes has become brand new, robust and rough. You checked the oblique star again. I found that he had softened a little, losing support. You carefully remove the stitches on the sole of your shoe. I replaced him with a new one. A slightly harder oblique star. When you resew these shoes, he was almost like a new pair of shoes. Back to life. You put it back in the basket. Picked up the next pair again. Every pair of shoes, both tell you a different story. About sweat. Brief moments of pain and beauty. When you are repairing these shoes, I don't feel like a shoemaker. More like an archivist. Or a restorer. You are here, more than just extending the lifespan of an item. They are organizing and preserving sections of silent, a fleeting history of dance. The sky outside the high window of the workshop, gradually from gray to warm orange. Dusk has come in Moscow. The pace in the workshop also slowed down. The tension in the morning to catch up with the indicators. The atmosphere has dissipated. Now there's just some finishing touches left. The last pair of shoes you are making for today. For the finishing touches, you use a soft cloth. Carefully wipe off any glue that may be stained on the upper. Stains or dust. Make sure he's flawless. You checked all the stitches. Cut off the excess thread. These shoes lie quietly in the palm of your hand. Like a sleeping baby. Your work is basically over here. You won't sew ribbons and elastic bands on him. That's the dancer's job. They will determine the shape of their ankles, personality and personal habit. Decide to break the belt, sewing position and angle. That's what they made for these shoes. The final step in injecting your own personality. It is also their connection with this new weapon, the beginning of an intimate relationship. Suddenly a melodious music body faded. Joy came from a distance. It's soft. It seems to be separated by many thick walls and floors. It's in the moon pool on the main stage upstairs. The orchestra is preparing for tonight's performance. Perform. You heard the melody. It's Tchaikovsky's Swan Lake. It's like a signal. Reminds you of the ultimate purpose of your day's work. This little one in your hand. Ingenious objects. It will soon become that grand and glorious stage. Part of a dream. Shoes you made. Going to you will never be able to. Far away. Facing eyes you can never imagine. The jump continues. You sit at your desk and you listen. Between you and the ultimate spectacle, there is a peculiar, close and distant relationship. You are the bedrock of this magic. Without the shoes you made, dancers can't fly on their toes. But you will never be able to witness the magic happen with your own eyes. Your world is this underground. A workshop full of the smell of leather and glue. Instead of that brilliant light, the auditorium with red velvet seats. In the Soviets, ballet performances are used by the state for political teaching, tools for education and enlightenment. The state will use subsidies to lower fares. Let ordinary working class people enter the theater. But for you, it's still a distant world. Your connection to the show is indirect. Hearing is this distant rehearsal god at this moment. A few hours later, when you are walking home, might hear a faint applause from the theater. You feel a complex, unspeakable emotion. It's a kind of maker's satisfaction, mixed with a hint of outsider sadness. You are like a ghost. Your presence permeates every movement of the dance, in every gesture. But for those in the audience who applauded, you're completely invisible. Your satisfaction does not come from applause. And the silence that comes from this moment, and the reassurance brought by this perfect pair of works in my hand, and that's good enough. You walk out the side door of the theater. Night has fallen. The streets of Moscow are brightly lit. The main building of the theater is illuminated by lights like a golden palace, in stark contrast to the surrounding night. The audience was pouring in through the front door, all dressed up, with a look of anticipation on his face. That world seems so far away at the moment, as if it had nothing to do with you. You wrap your coat tightly, draw in the flow of people after get off work, towards your place on the other side of the city. Subject narcogo. You still have the smell of the workshop on you. Leather glue and a hint of rosin. The smell is like a stamp of your identity. Back to the familiar dark corridor. You heard the neighbors in the kitchen, the sound of quarrel. I smell it, I don't know which one is stewing it. A strong-smelling dinner. Everything is exactly the same as when you left in the morning. You open the door to your room. Back to what belongs to you. Small and safe world. You take off your coat. Sitting by the bed. The exhaustion of the day is really swept away at this moment. It's not just physical exertion. It's a mental drain. You're lying in bed. Close your eyes. What happened today in the dark? Play it back in your mind like a movie. Early morning silence in the kitchen. Dust flying in the workshop. Satin smooth touch. Svetlana's anxious face. Black market businessperson Misha's yellow teeth. And finally the distant melody from the moon pool. You suddenly remember many years ago. Have you ever read a book? It came from England out of nowhere. Children's fiction. It's called Ballet Shoes. The book describes the world of ballet. It's like a fairy tale, full of dreams and warmth. You thought. The author must not have smelled it. Sweating in the backstage locker room. The mixed taste of water and medicinal wine. I haven't seen those because they wear pointy feet all year round. Shoes become deformed. Scarred feet. He won't even know. To make those look light. Beautiful shoes. It needs to be in a semi-underground workshop. How hard it was to pay. Unknown labor. Your life. It seems to be composed of these contradictions. Sublime art and humble reality. The dazzling stage and the dim workshop. Individual memory and collective will. The brilliance of the surface and the lack of the inside. You turned over. Put your face in the pillow. From the distant city center, there seemed to be a vague tidal sound. You don't know if it's your imagination. But do you want to believe? At the end of the Swan Lake show, dedicated to the 4 trainees, and applause from all the actors. That applause. It's also like thinking about you. You fall asleep in this imaginary applause. Tomorrow will be another day. In that huge wicker basket, there are also many worn shoes, waiting for you. This from obscurity to short-lived glory. The cycle of returning to obscurity will begin again. Your destiny does not lie in any one palm. It lies in this never-ending unknown. But there is a crucial repetition.